Right? So so this was an asset question, right? And the options were 3, 4, 5, 6. So what's the right answer? 4. Very good. So some people are still awake. The right answer is 4. What did students pick, or majority of the students? 5. And why did they pick 5?
They always see the ending point.
So they see the ending point. They see the ending point. So in the first year, 77% of the students picked 5. Okay. Now in the second year, I have a black marker by any chance. Okay. In the second year, the same pencil. Right? We move this pencil 1 centimeter to the right. So it's the same pencil. So what's the correct answer here?
4.
4 is still the correct answer. Now what did students pick?
6 or 5.
So raise your hand if they picked 6. One brave soul. Okay, but all of you who said 5 here, how many of you said 5 in the previous thing? Okay, so by that same logic that the pencil point ends at 6, why do you not think they'll pick 6 this time?
No, but here they would have understood.
That is a completely new set of kids. No? Realize that this was class whatever 4, I think. The next year's class 4 would be completely new set of students. So then they pick 6. So now there are more people who are joining Prasid's camp of 6. One more person smilingly. You also 6. Okay. How many people think they picked 5? Some people. You can't read that in How many people think that now they picked 4? Some more people. The others, I'm assuming you're voting for 3.
I'm not sure whether they would have picked 5 or 6, so I'm confused there.
Okay, so can someone tell me why would they have picked 6 now? Because it ends at 6. Okay. Why would they have picked 5?
Because they have kind of logic. Pencil have moved one step forward, so.
But do realize that as a student, you are seeing only this, right? You have no idea about what happened last year.
So they will pick up 5 because they count 2 as 1. They'll start from 2. They'll start counting from 2 as 1. So that goes on till 5, according to their understanding.
Everybody agrees with that? No. Okay, so how many people think they picked 4 now?
That's because they would have got my teacher book references for comedy.
No, yeah, so that doesn't happen.
No, the my teacher book they get the common mistake. Not
Teacher remains same, no sir.
Thankfully, asset is not high stakes as of now.
Teacher remains same, no the class 4 teacher last year.
They would have seen the answer was wrong, common answer.
No,
She might have explained.
completely unlikely. Learn from the previous batch. So the majority of the students still picked 5. Not 4, not 6. Still picked 5. Hypothetically, even if what Gayatri said they counted, why would they count?
Because when the child is brought up in the school, so it always happens that their counting starts from 1 to 10. It has never been not like that 0, then 1, 2, and so on. So that can be one misconception in the mind of the student.
But if that was the case, then we would have got 4 in the previous.
Redraw that.
Got it.
They're overlooking.
No, that got.
So before we teach length or measurement, we teach counting, right? And when you tell a child how many chairs were there, how many people were there, the child counts 1, 2, 3, 4. And what do we as teachers or parents do? Shabash! देखो मेरा बच्चा कितना अच्छा counting करता है, correct counting कर रहा है, right? Like very good. So the child is feeling awesome. It's like, आ गया मुझे. I know how to count. Now, when you're moving to length, the child is applying the principles of counting, which he knows is correct, which he or she has been applauded for doing it really well, into a domain where it's not relevant. So this misconception does not arise because of bad teaching or no teaching. This arises because even as adults, we know that something is true, we believe it is true, but where we are applying, it's not relevant. It's outside the boundaries of where it is sort of relevant and true. So that's an example. See now, when you first get the acid data and you get 5, even we thought that it was because the pencil point is ending at 5. It's only when you do it the second year, when you realize that it's not 6, it's not 4, but it's still 5. Why is it 5? So what we did is we went to schools, we went to the students who picked 5 and we sort of asked them, why did you pick 5? And unless my laptop works, I can't
videos
show you
also.
the video on this. Yeah.
Class experience and tracking and discussion.
Let's do this. I am shortchanging you. But what I'm going to do is show you a video on my computer screen. It's not going to be the biggest screen that you have seen, but what it will do at least is use. So let's do this. It's fairly loud. It should be okay. Increase the brightness. And how are people eyesight? If it's wrong, if you can't see,
You want me to get that?
see an optician.
Pranav, you want me to get that video? I have it on hard disk.
Srishti will come knocking at the door and say, Pranav, your hands up. So I need to let work.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So, you counted that and that's why you said that this is 8?
Yeah.
And not because this point is 8?
No. This 4 will count as 1. And till 9 it will be 6. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see how much there is. It starts from 6 because it starts from 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
This to this is 1 centimeter.
Yeah.
And this to this?
That is 0 centimeter.
This is 0 centimeter. How much is this to this?
2 centimeters.
Okay, so this much is 2 centimeter?
No, yeah.
Okay, how much is this?
Five centimeters. The answer is 6 because it's.
So, that's interesting. You know, while this video was playing, I noticed that some people were like, oh, some people were like, ha ha ha. Some people had different sort of emotion reactions. And when I saw this video for the first time, I thought of, how did I learn? You know, what was different in my education, in my upbringing, that I don't have the same misconceptions, right? You can only imagine how much we had to pay those children to be on the camera, right? But that really struck me, and I think that's what continues to sort of drive me today. As to, I feel like that this is a worthwhile problem to solve. You know, as in like it's not. I mean, if you look at largely over India, you'll find that there's huge correlation between income and education levels, which a good education system should not sort of have. A good education system should sort of level the playing field for them. So a little bit about my background. So I grew up actually here in Ahmedabad. Coincidentally, I'm sort of back here. Went to a sort of Jesuit school. Studied mechanical engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology. While I was there, the summers I worked at Capital One, at General Electric, in a multitude of roles ranging from being on the factory floor on the assembly line to sort of buying large capital equipment from China for them. After graduation, I joined a management consulting firm called Boston Consulting Group. Very similar to the work that McKinsey does, sort of very the same thing. While I was based in the US, I lived for 3 months in Germany, in Chile, in Argentina, fairly nomadic life. And then joined a a venture capital private equity firm in New York, was looking at several deals in the US, and there was one deal that we were looking at in Bombay, and at that time the firm did not have any operations in India, so everything was US focused. So I moved to Bombay. I lived for a year, set up sort of the offices of GPI Capital in India, and also Nova Medical Centers. Sort of the first Nova Medical Center was started by me and sort of my firm in Bangalore. And while it was a great entrepreneurial experience, it was very lonely. I was the only full-time person in India, so the partners flew in as and when needed. So after that, I decided to go back to study and did the 2-year MBA program at Harvard Business School. So lived in Boston for 2 years, which really changed my life. There was a professor who asked, what is the purpose of your life? Professor J. Christensen. And it really haunted me for the 2 years there. So every night was, what is the purpose of my life? Thankfully, I had accidental run-ins with lots of people in the education sector. I cross-registered at the Harvard School of Education for my electives and met lots of people who were Teach for America alums, who were in the government, in the education sector, professors, do coursework. And realized that the best use of my education is to be that support system for others. It's not like I was very smart, that I got into a lot of the great colleges. It's also because I had the right support system, whether it be advisory, whether it be emotional, whether it be financial. And so because of that support system, I got a great education. And I felt that the best use of what I got should be that support system for others. So I didn't make a resume in my second year. I did an interview with one single company when I was there. And I came back to India sort of looking around. I spent some time trying to set up a school, visited several organizations across the country, and finally just met Sridhar. I didn't know what PI was then, but I liked some people that I met more than others, and so I just took my computer and sat outside Sridhar's office and said, give me some work to do. And slowly, that role evolved to managing a smaller team within Mindspark Maths, which organically over time grew larger. At the same time, we wrote a proposal to start Mindspark Centers, and Ashish Dhawan and Central Square Foundation were very kind to get that off. So we started with 2 centers in July 2012, which grew to 5 in March 2015. And sort of, we started doing more and more of Mindspark, and maybe some other functions like campus recruiting. So I went to, first year, I went to 15 colleges across India. I went to all the 5 IITs, all the Delhi University campuses, and the next year I went to about half of them again. And today, sort of, essentially doing a multitude of Mindspark Maths, which is actually used in private schools. We're also starting Mindspark English. We're doing some work on Mindspark Science, and we still have the Mindspark Centers that are running. So we have a lot of people here from Mindspark Centers that we should sort of meet over the next 2 or 3 days that we are here. So that's sort of my last 2.5 years within EI. Still loving it, still when I see that video, even today after probably having seen that 100 times, it still inspires me to sort of say that this is a meaningful, large problem to solve. There are other problems which are large but may not be meaningful. There are other problems which are meaningful but may not be large. And within different sectors, so let's take infrastructure or health or whatever, let's say rights, human rights or women's empowerment, etc. There are lots of other sort of big problems to solve. But I think education is sort of the one piece which is an enabler for people to jump orbits. So let's say if you get hurt and I treat you, there's no guarantee that tomorrow you might not get hurt again. If you are hungry and I feed you, it's guaranteed that you will be hungry again tomorrow. So what is that one piece which enables someone to be able to take care of their health, to be able to take care of their food, to be able to take care of where they live? And that's why I'm still inspired to be in the education sector. And also it's important to do this at scale, right? Each one of us is capable enough of teaching 20, 30, 40 kids If we really wanted to, if we spend all our time, those 40 kids will be superstars in their lives. But how many kids does India have? Any guesses? 20 million? 320 million? People agree with that number, disagree? You guys are an awfully quiet class. It's like 8 years. For me, it's a nightmare. Most people like it, but I hate it.
Approximately.
What is India's population?
125 crores.
Right? So you take about a quarter of that, assuming that that's the age when people go to bed. So you'll get a number between 25 to 30 crores, which is 300 million or so. So 40 kids that we can directly touch, maybe some of us are Supermans here and Superwomans here, we'll touch 400 kids. But that's still a tiny proportion when you divide it by 300 million kids. And so doing things at scale is important as well. Okay, so you guys are like super quiet. So now I'm going to ask everyone to stand up. Stand up. I can't deal with such a quiet class. Okay, now the scenario, this is a real life scenario, right? So in 2012, India participated in the PISA test. PISA stands for Program for International something assessment. And this test is conducted in 74 countries of the world, right? And essentially, it's the same test, but it's sort of conducted in Germany, it'll be in German, etc., etc. So sit down if you are like a proud, patriotic Indian after 68 years, feel India was in the top 10. Like India was in the top 10 of world education. Think about all the NASA scientists who are Indian, think about all the doctors, think about all of those people, think about how proud you are as an Indian, and sit down, you get to relax. If they sit down feeling India is in the top 20. So none of us, like everyone is like, not done. Top 50. Top half 50.
73rd.
Remember, the question is, 74 countries took the test, and I'm asking you to sit down if India was in the top half of it. Top. You think, right? I mean, come on, like with all that India done.
75.
Sit down if you're in the 70. Sit down, sit down. But when did you know this? When did you know this? Did you know this like a month before?
Yes.
How many people knew this a month before?
Exactly.
A few months before. How many people knew it when it hit the headline in every single newspaper?
Yes.
But so that's the thing, right? It came, and you know what a newspaper is? It's a bit tough to do it here. But imagine a newspaper is sort of, this is a newspaper, typical, and it's folded in half, and has about 8 columns. Yeah, you understand the picture, right? So, I forget the actual technical word that journalists call it, but when something really large happens, the headline crosses all those 8 sections. And this happens very rarely, okay? It happens if, like, something really, really bad has happened.
With bold letters.
Yeah, and big folded. And it cuts across all 8 columns or whatever they are. So this made it to that in every single newspaper, and India stood second last. And the government's response to that is that the next PISA test, which should happen in 2015, we decide not to take the test. Because I don't detect it, there must not be a problem. And it's swept under the carpet. And that's something we need to change. Right? And they even like tried to play games. Right? They said, "Acha, pehli baar le rahe hain, chalo do best states ko aage karte hain." So they put together Himachal and Tamil Nadu, who they thought were the best amongst Indian states. And we stood 73rd. So imagine if India said, okay, let's sample the whole country. Right? Well, there's not much more room, we would have stood 74th. Right? But we decided not to take the test because it's too difficult to digest this information. But that's the thing that we need to fix, you know. Regardless of whether that is done or not done, we need to fix as individuals here together and solve this problem. Now, how many of you think the test में कुछ तो खराब है? You know, क्या? The phrase दाल में काला है और आंगन टेढ़ा है, one of those phrases. So there's something wrong with the test. Raise your hand. If India would not have stood 73rd, there's something wrong with the test. Raise your hand. Genuinely. Yeah, you guys that corrupt or non-corrupt, I think the test was also right.
There must have been a wrong selection of students might have not been correct.
I like you. There must be something wrong. Right? People think there's something wrong in the test.
No, there is nothing wrong with it.
In
Selection.
the way it was conducted, the way students. Selection of students. So they picked the worst students.
No, but there must have been, as it happens in India. Take my student, my nephew, or
Technically, even if you're buying your argument for a second, you would have put your best students forward, no?
no, then also.
Then also you stood 72. We stood 72. So there's no flaw in the test per se, but what we fail to realize is that the people we meet are people who are roughly the same socio-economic level, roughly the same family background, religion, etc. So we see this part of India, which is again 0.0001%. And the Indians we hear about, people who did really well in the US and Europe, international science Olympiads and all of those things, is again a very, very, very tiny fraction of society. Whereas the test is conducted as a representative sample. So the 5,000 kids that were picked, it's representative across the government schools, private schools, municipal schools, English schools, Tamil schools, Hindi schools that were picked. And that is a picture of India. But that is the reality, and that's why we need to change some of these things at scale. Right? So back to what about asset? What about Mindspark? I won't go into this, but these are things you may have heard about from ASA and other tests on how poor the levels are. Now, if we talk about supposing you're a teacher, what's her name?
Chubby.
Chavi. So Chavi is a teacher, and Chavi is teaching J. Chavi is teaching J, and what would be the first few things that you would do? Just talk about your teaching J.
If I'm teaching some particular topic, let's say algebra, fractions, anything,
Right.
so I'll be discussing, as a teacher, I'll be discussing about the topic. I'll try to judge what my students know about fractions.
So you're teaching
Yeah.
J alone as a personal tutor?
No.
No, I'm saying you are.
Okay.
Huh. I know it's very tough, but that's it probably.
Okay, cool.
So what would you do with Jay? Jay is sitting across the table. He's come to you for one-on-one tuition classes. What is the first thing you do? This is the first day you met Jay and all of that stuff. Let's say you got the high hello out of the way.
Okay. Once the high heaven and everything has been done, so what I'll do, I'll ask him to open his book, I'll open my book and start teaching the topic. This is what usually happens in the class.
Okay.
Not in the
But not in the class,
class.
you're doing tuitions now.
Huh.
Okay. What would you do?
I would first understand what did he learn in this school.
Okay.
And
Why is that important? School mein karaya tha.
But you need to have that, the link.
Right.
Okay, so it should not go mismatched.
Okay.
Because different teachers, after all, in school he's learning something else, and at home he learns something else, so he get confused. And that's one of the point where misconceptions arise. My home teacher taught me this, my school teacher taught me this.
Okay. So you basically understand you want to as a student?
No, not as a student. In general, as in what I think is if there is a one-to-one tuition, the tutor should focus more on the gaps or the weakness areas.
But how would the tutor know that?
For that, they need to analyze what is the current.
How would they analyze?
So for that, they need to ask on those topics.
What would they ask?
Relevant to the topic that they are going to teach further.
So what the teacher would possibly do, one of many things, is really get to know where is the student today. Right? अभी उसको कितना आता है और आगे कितना बढ़ाना है. What's your name, sir?
Pranav.
Pranav. That's easy to remember. So supposing Pranav is sitting next with a B, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Pranav is sitting next to J. How much is Pranav benefiting from Chavi teaching J? Assuming Pranav is 10 years older than Jay, looks like it. How much is that? Is benefiting a lot? A little? Is he guaranteed to be learning something new?
Little.
Little? Why little?
It's more personalized too.
Right? So even if 40 other people are sitting next to Jay, the benefits to each one of them questionable. Right? Even if I'm telling you something on Mindspark today, maybe you are absorbing a lot more because you know a certain level of mind. Different people know that. So, how many students can Chavi teach in her day, in her week, in her month? How many? How many?
Personalized learning.
Yeah.
Per day. Like if I talk about proper dedication, we cannot dedicate
Proper dedication.
okay. Not more than 3, 4.
But he deserves nothing less than proper dedication. Right? Why should he get anything less? Now, when you put in a search in Google, do you get a proper result? For the most part, yes. Is the result customized to what you have put in? जो आपने डाला उसके basis पे वो search आ रहा है, right? So it's customized to you. So each one of us is benefiting from Google's proper customized feedback to us. Right? There is one Google. Each of us are getting customized with us. Right? Why should that not happen in education? Why should a child's learning be dependent on the teacher? Whether they had tea in the morning or not, whether they fought with their spouse or not, whether they are in good health or not. Why shouldn't there be one ex-teacher technology that is teaching everyone on a one-on-one basis? As both are important. One teacher teaching all can be done by videos, right? You put on a video, you beam it to 100 schools, a lot of people are doing that, right? Teaching one-on-one is also happening, right, at high quality. But teaching one-on-one for everyone at large scale with the highest quality, not happening. Happening for Google, not happening in education. Why should that be the case? Why shouldn't everyone get customized, personalized learning at the highest quality? Right? And that is sort of the philosophy behind Mindspark, right? Which is you centralize the quality. So Google is what? It's a bunch of people in California serving 6 billion people on this planet, right? A bunch of tiny group of people in California working, centralizing quality, disseminating at scale. Even in most villages in India, there is a smartphone with 2G, 3G access that can access Google. Centralized quality, disseminated at scale. Right? And so Mindspark wants to sort of do that. That's a small group of people who are working on ensuring that every child is getting a fantastic education at scale, right? And personalized. Personalized because, I don't need to harp on this point, right? One teacher teaching 40 people versus one teacher teaching one person. Obviously the latter is better, but it's also scientifically documented with several. But then what is personalized? Right? So normally we just think about pace of learning. Kitne speed mein padha rahe. Sometimes we think about style of learning, like this person likes to play with toys, this person likes to hear, this person likes to see. But sort of even like what is the topic, we're talking about topic that is going to be done when the student is learning. Student likes to learn at 10 p.m., teacher wants to teach at 10 a.m. All of those pieces, even the amount of emotional support that is given, all of those elements can be personalized to the child. So Mindspark started in 2009. We had 4,000 children then who paid for it. 2010 was about 8, 2011 about 16, 2012 was about 32,000, 2013 was about 64,000, and today is in the neighborhood of 80,000 or so. So Mindspark is growing. About 5 to 10,000 of these kids are in the Gulf countries outside of India. The rest are in India. As far as my memory serves correctly, the northernmost school is in Patiala, and the southernmost school is an hour south of Madurai. Rajkot on the western side, all the way to Mizoram on the eastern side. So it sort of has disseminated to some scale with some level of quality, but nowhere close to what Google is for search. Now 2011-ish, when we had 16,000 kids, we also thought about what about the kids who don't have access to this, right? Because Mindspark even then was costing 2,000-3,000 rupees per child per year just for Mindspark, and you add on the cost of computers and tablets and all of that. So what about the kids who don't have that money? So that's when we started Mindspark in government schools. So there are 20 government schools in Gujarat that are using Mindspark. Worldwide research suggests that the best way to learn in early childhood should be in the mother tongue language. It's the language you can talk to your parents about. It's the language that you can talk to your friends about. So that's when we started converting maths to Gujarati. Now, wasn't as simple as translation, For example, pizza to teach fractions had to become roti. As a low-income child in Gujarat, I've never seen pizza before. San had become ramen bhai. Numbers up until grade 5 were in the Gujarati sort of numerical piece and multiple things. Now what we realized was, let's say we took a group, we split it into half, random split into half. Both got the same maths paper. This group was given the paper and said, solve this. This group was given, I started later.
Okay, 10.
No, like I started at 1:30, right? I get till 2:30. Or you can vote. Some people want me to end in 10 minutes.
No.
I don't want me to end at 2:30.
Amazon is most important. For sales at least. Definitely.
Come on,
we need to
Simon.
know.
Everybody is begging you now.
I think only I have a choice. Nobody else.
Bolo,
I'll just. How much time more?
2:30 at least. I mean, I just want a full hour.
Okay. I'll get back.
Right. So maths paper given to two groups of kids. And this group was said solve the paper. This group was said also solve the paper. The only difference was that in this group, I stand in front of the group and I read the question. I don't explain it. I don't repeat it. Nothing. No help. Just read the question. Actually, both groups should get roughly the same maths marks, right? The paper is the same, but this group did significantly better. Now, why is that? We saw that even a simple question, and this question was obviously in Gujarati, but for the purpose of this, I write here, which is how many flowers are there? Right? So, the question is, kitne phool hain? And then you have a bunch of flowers. I know, but assume that's a flower. And balls. Right? So you have some flowers and some balls. Now this group also knows how to count. And this group also knows how to count. But this group couldn't read the question, kitne phool hai, in their mother tongue language. And so they would have written either like they didn't know what to do, or they would have written 6. Whereas this group sort of got it more right than this group. That's when we realized that language in mother tongue is actually a bigger problem than maths in low-income societies, and that is also hindering mathematical abilities. Right? So we don't have Mindspark English, but we have Mindspark Gujarati, we have Mindspark Hindi. Because kids in high-income schools, their language is relatively okay. I mean, you can talk about SMS language and stuff. They can read. Whereas kids in low income have actually a bigger problem reading. Because of that need, Mindspark Gujarati and Hindi as a language got created beforehand. Right? And then in 2012, we sort of started the Mindspark centers outside the government schools, but inside the slum. So it serves the same demographics of kids. And the kids who come here, more or less are the same kids who come here in terms of demographic and economics strata of the society. And I can get into the reasons why we started the centers, but the major ones was, let's see, as funnily as it sounds, here it's exclusive to government school kids, right? So if you're not in a government school, you're going to an affordable private school, your parents are forcing you to work, you don't have access to Mindspark or education in general. Whereas here it's open for all. It's open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and kids can come in after school, before school. Delhi has dual shift schools where girls go to school in the morning, boys go to school in the afternoon, and sort of then they come to the center an opposite time. But also if you're forced to work, you can attend a class and then go there or come back and take the last class. So it's sort of inclusive for all. Again, like at the centers, we have our own team sort of right there, getting feedback right there and then. Quite a few of them are here, so there's Amita, and then Prasid and all of those other people are here. So you should meet them. And if you ever again see the four of them sitting next to each other, like make sure you break that rule. And because the 3 days you are here, you're not here to spend time with people you are going to anyways be working with. You might as well spend time with people with different parts of EI. That's when you take the heritage walk, when you sort of are having lunch, make sure you're not sitting with people who you're anyways going to spend the rest of your EI career with. So go out, reach out to someone in Mindspark Center, someone in sales, someone in IT, someone in, and then sort of get to know that vision, because this is a golden opportunity for you to know all of EI. There will be lectures like the more and one I'm giving right now, but the real learning will come is when you sort of meet each other over tea, coffee breaks, lunches, heritage walk, and use it opportunity. So don't withdraw into yourself. As much as possible, don't take out your phone and start doing emails like Pranav is always doing. So he's not doing well. I thought I'd make fun of him. Right, so that's when we started Mindspark Centers in 2012, and now we have 5 centers in South Delhi. So these are some of the reasons why we started centers outside of schools. The infrastructure is in our control, teachers, staffing is in our control. Government schools like this, Navratri, Mindspark session gets cut out, sports day gets cut out. But here, the centers are open for 52 weeks a year, 6 days a week. We don't even give Diwali vacation, except for 1 or 2 days, whatever year get. There's no summer vacation. Right? So Akash and Shafali are made to work really hard, because the reality is, see, in the summer, children are still breathing, children are still eating, children are still playing. So why should they stop studying? Right? Why should they stop studying? It's not too hot. Whatever, it's just a made up excuse. Right? So children should continue learning. And in fact, research shows that if you take a break of 1 month, 2 months, you even forget what you had learned beforehand. So 52 weeks, a year, day after day, 6 days a week, kids are sort of coming and learning, and that's important if you have to solve that problem. Kids are on an average 2-3 years behind, right? So you're not going to catch up with the same pace of walking. You may, but let's not leave anything to destiny or fate. Let's sort of take that situation in our control. And that's why, we need to work extra hard so that all our kids are getting access to a fantastic education. So that's how a typical center looks like. We could turn only these 2 lights off. Don't turn off anything more than that though. Now keep everything on except these 2 lights. Right. सब ऑन करके ये 2 लाइट पे बंद करना है.
तो कोई और होगा. That's fine. No, that's fine.
Okay, well, deal with it. So this is how a typical center looks like. Okay, good. Nice. So what I'll do now is I'll spend quickly 5 minutes after we deal with these. So in the center is not just kids and computers, but the beauty is, see, a 5th standard kid is sitting next to a 2nd standard girl, is sitting next to a 3rd standard boy of a government school, is like next to a 4th standard affordable private school, is sitting next to a child who is not going to school, because each of them have a unique login and password, and it picks up from where they left off. So unlike a typical class, when you go to your gaon for 2 weeks, or when you are sick for a week, the class still moves ahead. Because I can't wait for every child to fall sick. Whereas in the Mindspark centers, Mindspark sort of waits for you. You need to take 3 days off because you have fever. Understandable. When you come back, I will wait for you and then move forward at the same pace. At that time, if you're ready to run, I'll run with you. If you're ready to walk, I'll walk with you. If you need help on a particular topic, I'll stop by and help you. That's the beauty of personalized learning through technology. So that's the reason why we like technology. So technology, most people think of a smart board, projector, because it looks fancy. But that's not truly harnessing the power of technology in education. Technology in education is best used for personalized learning, because that is one thing Chavi can't do. right? She cannot teach millions of kids. She said she can only teach 4 kids in a day. Somebody can do 40. But what she can do, we still retain at the center. So she'll ask the question. She'll say the hi, hello. By the way, the hi, hello is equally important. Right? Prasid will tell you an hour about how to greet a child. That is the thing that Chavi will do, and that's important. Chavi will help out on some of the problems that technology cannot help out on. So I don't envision a world which is without technology, which is without teachers. But what we need to do is play to everyone's strengths. The power of technology is to do individualized, personalized learning. The power of the human teacher is all the support structure, emotional, subject specific that is there, and you need to blend those two together, right? And people will not lose jobs. So, when were the pyramids built? I need to take you to these diversions outside of Mindspark, and I see people where are the pyramids built? 14th or something. When was the Burj Al Dubai made?
Recently.
Both were the tallest structures of their times.
Yes.
Right? How tall is the Burj Al Dubai in respect to the pyramids? 3 times. How many people were used in building the pyramids? And how many people were used in building the Burj Al Dubai?
Few hundred.
Probably a few thousand actually, if you count in all the engineering and design.
Everything design.
So people are not going to go away. But with technology, you can build a building 3 times as tall. Right? So teachers feel like, "Arey, ye aega to main kya karungi?" You will do something that is 3 times more than you could do as a single human. Right? The Burj Al Dubai employed a phenomenal amount of technology. The pyramids did to the extent of intellectual sort of, and that's to be appreciated as well. But if you look at the size, if you look at what's possible with technology in a larger sense, employment doesn't go away. We have more people in the world today who are employed than when the pyramids were built. We're building taller buildings today than we were at that time. So that's the power of technology, right? It will not replace humans in the traditional sense of thinking. What you need to do is play to the strength. Play to what a teacher and only a teacher can do, or only a human can do. Play to what the technology and only a technology can do. Whatever Chavi does, she can never teach 400 million kids in a proper way, in a 1:1 basis. That's something technology can do. Whatever technology can do, it somehow just cannot sort of, hug a child. And only a human can do. And we need to recognize, acknowledge, and sort of work accordingly. So, I'll stop here actually. And maybe open it up for questions. And let's see how we do before Sanyal comes back knocking on the door. So, what questions do people have?
What is MS centers only in Delhi?
Right. Is there some water I can drink? I got not through this. Why Delhi? See, let me ask you a different question. How much does this computer cost? Nothing. 25,000. If this computer is only used by J, what is the cost of this computer? So if J uses it, it costs 35,000. What if this computer is used by 35 of you? How much is the cost of this computer? 1K. Cost of the computer is still 35,000. Right? But
Number of person using it.
right? So this is still the difference. If I look at cost. Now if I do cost per person, then this sort of is still 35K and this is 1K. Right? So is technology cheap or expensive?
Depends on usage.
Depends on the usage. So how can I make all the infrastructure, the rent, okay? Bilal's salary, how much do I have to pay him if one student comes to the center?
For each page.
How much do you have to pay him if 100 students come? Same. So, Bilal's salary, the rent of the Chhatapur center, the 30 computers inside it, largely all of those costs are fixed. Right? If one more student comes in, my cost structure doesn't really change much. Maybe you're printing of a paper here or there. But my cost per child changes dramatically. So what does that mean? That I need lots of people to come to the center? Now, would you send your 6-year-old child to cross a main street and walk 20 minutes to a center? Would you send it if it was in your apartment community building? So you need lots of people not crossing a major road. Okay? So you need lots of people very tightly living together. Now that can only happen in cities. Right? So urban slums. So you can't do it in villages where there are only like 20 kids there. So cost per child will go up a lot. So are we now okay with Mindspark centers in urban slums of India? Okay. Now, why Delhi? So we talked about how mother tongue language is important. And so if you look at what is the largest language that is being spoken, so we'll have got Hindi. And what is the largest Hindi speaking urban slum?
I understood very two-point point of view.
Yeah,
Because if you
what can I
have to
say?
you have to talk about Bombay, you have to use Marathi, you go to Bangalore, you read language, again Hyderabad.
Bangalore में कौन सा language होता है वो पता नहीं आपको?
नहीं, language would be a problem. हिंदी में वहाँ नहीं कर
I'm just putting
सकते,
that.
English में नहीं कर सकते, अगर local language में देना है तो.
What are the questions? Questions, people. Questions. Mindspark asks how many questions a day? No, let's say सब मिला के जितने भी बच्चे हैं जो भी यूज कर रहे हैं एक दिन में Mindspark कितने क्वेश्चन पूछता है?
3,000 sessions in year.
पर year बोलो पर day बोलते हैं ना easy
Questions per
But that is the first student. right? I'm asking total Mindspark कितने क्वेश्चन पूछता है रोज? मैं Mindspark हूँ जो भी बच्चे मेरे पास आते हैं मैं उनको पूछता हूँ.
80,000 students if we have. So if we
नंबर दो ना इतना सब समझाओ मैं. You have a number?
There is no such limit, but approximately 1,03,000 per year.
1 lakh questions per day.
Per year.
No, I want the number per day, yaar. I want the number per day. गोली लगा. कितने questions?
Please, we need the number.
Number. No words.
15 to 20.
Number.
Usually ask 45 questions in a session.
I want total questions,
There
not per
was
student.
60 lakhs question a day.
50, 60 lakh
15,
questions.
16.
15, 16 lakhs. Everybody like sort of feel like he's gone mad. 15 lakh questions a day. Everybody agrees with him, disagrees. Anyway, they're a different number.
First,
We're actually not too far off the mark. It's like 10 lakh questions per day.
I am calculating 80,000 students if 20 questions student here, 20 questions per student. That's how.
Right. So 10 lakh questions ka, we know which child answered it, how much time they took, what answer choice they picked. Remember? 3, 4, 5, 6 वाला. कितना टाइम में पिक किया, कौन सा चॉइस पिक किया, कौन सी स्कूल से, कौन सी कंट्री से, कौन से रीजन से, every single thing is stored. So EI has the world's largest educational data on that count. Right? So 1 million questions per day is what we're collecting and storing and analyzing. And that's humongous. So what do we do with that? How is Mindspark made? Nobody asked me that question. So Mindspark is made by, what I would say, triangulating on 3 different things. One is primary research. Okay. Understanding why the child is picking 5 centimeters by going to a child, asking him 5 kyun pick kiya and learning that they are counting is an example of a primary research that we're doing. The second is secondary research. So we read on Mindspark, you have more than 400 research paper summaries. These are research that is published in international journals, right, on maths, like the JRME, NCTM, etc. And the third is data, which is what I was talking about. So you need to do primary research and secondary research because you need to see कि जो publish हुआ वो reality में हो रहा है या नहीं. Right? So this is a reality check. It's not some random professor in the US publishing a paper with 40 kids. Is this really happening on the ground? You need to make sure that this research is true. मैंने तो एक student से जाके पूछा कि वो क्यों 5 लिखा. How am I to believe that 17,000 kids of India can do that? That will come from the data that I'm collecting. Right? So this is the scale aspect. Typically research is done less than 100 students because it's expensive. Mindspark will give you points on more than that. And you need data and this to sort of make sure that any errors here done. It's possible that I went and talked to only 10 kids who had a misconception. But I need to make sure that all of them are really superior. So that, and also when we learn from data, when I told you that 77% students picked the wrong answer, I can go and sort of do my research as to why they picked that answer. ये सब करने के बाद we sort of build content in terms of how we do. And the beauty is as follows, right? Because today I make something. I go here, I press enter, boom. It's live to 70,000 students across India. Right? Literally with me just pressing a button. In a week or two, I might have 100 or 200 data points. And I realized, I was 10 चीज सोचा था, उसमें से 6 things are working as planned. These 2 things aren't really working out. And these 2 things are working out in a way I didn't think is possible. Then I can go back, sort of do my whole thing, make a version 2, and hit that press a button and boom, it's now live to again 80,000 students. And they're different students, right? Presumably because those kids are gone. And see how much of this is working. So this loop is great because I'm not making something in the 4 walls of the Ahmedabad office, oblivious to what's happening outside my own office. Ability to look at data, make a version 2, make a version 3, make a version 4 is immensely possible when you have 80,000 paying customers. That's the difference between a typical product. A typical product can do these 2, right? They can do these 2. They really wanted to. The different thing that they don't do it. But only with Mindspark it's possible to do it with real data and improve on it.
What we are doing for class 1 to 10. But how do you suggest that class 1 student would read the things that are coming on the screen?
How many students have you seen using a computer or an iPad or a tablet or a mobile phone?
No, every kid now, if they have a mobile and
Happening
tablet.
in schools that the students of class first and sometimes also class second also they are not able to read the statement.
There are some ways. There is voiceover, so they can put a headphone, they can listen to the question up till grade 3 in private schools. But largely, see, technically I can also bring you kids of 8th standard who can't read.
That's
right? But there are also kids who are able to read.
I'm specifically, that's why I'm asking about class 1, 2 and 3. 3 it's okay, it's still they might read it.
So there are voiceovers, and as much as possible we've tried to make it more visually sort of
colorful or attractive to them. Or
less text. I don't know if it's colorful.
Yeah, less text is very comprehensive, and the suggestions or whatever things come, they do come in. So I have attempted actually. Try my own doing.
How did you do that? How did you do Mindspark?
Dual student. So single student take class 5, go to a particular.
But how did you do
it? Student interface.
So each of you, when you log into EI, on the left hand side there is do Mindspark as a student, and you can access any content of Mindspark from grade 1 to 10 across all topics. So if you haven't done, do it, and if you don't do, I know it because I have data and usage for every one of you.
But in that case, if you are getting a question wrong, so the level decreases?
Right, so see what happens when you get a question wrong is a very complex answer that will take me about half an hour to explain the adaptive logic of Mindspark. But if I superficially talk about this, what I would say is, see, the moment you get one question wrong, I cannot decide if you really don't know the concept, or you made a silly mistake, or you are like so bored that you're doing this. Right, so it takes me some time to determine actually what's going on. And what you will get is a mixture of getting content that you need to know before you get this topic. You could get, a remedial item, which is, it sort of gives you step-by-step instruction on that one. It can give you different things that essentially would help you learn. For example, look at this, right? If I gave you this problem and you entered 0, I could just say wrong. But I don't know what is it really that's wrong. So instead what Mindspark is trying to say is, hey, maybe the child actually was adding. And it says you need to multiply 7 and 3 here. Because the child may know multiplication, but so you need to do very different things in that sense. Right? Similarly here, if they wrote 21 here, you could just say wrong. But actually they know multiplication is just that they don't know some process or procedure. It's a very complex thing when someone gets wrong. So you need more questions, you need to sort of understand. You can give a prerequisite, you can give a remedial, which is like think of it as a one-on-one tutoring, but they're hand-holding. Mindspark has no videos. No videos on Mindspark. Why? Because a 4-minute video is 4 minutes for Jay, 4 minutes for Chavi, 4 minutes for me. Whereas in reality, Jay is a super bright kid who can learn in 2 minutes, Chavi needs 2.5, and I need 7 minutes. Why should we all watch a 4-minute video? Plus 4 minutes ka video hai. It starts off, you know me, I'll pull out my phone and start sending an email. She will look outside the window and Jay is like chewing gum. So how do I measure engagement with videos? I can't. Mindspark has no videos. Right? So what do we think? See, most often we think of teaching or this whole education thing as delivering. Right? We think that there is a person here who has a lot of things here, who can take and give to a lot of people over there. Or even think is be inside of a student and how much am I receiving and understanding. So too many of us, you got to principles like teacher achhi nahi milti hai, teacher training do, but we all are focused on delivering. We need to focus on absorbing or learning. Is the child learning? How many questions do you get on that? That is the important piece. And learning doesn't happen by giving a lecture or showing a 4-minute video. Learning happens when you think. Even today, when you do problems where you're really finding it challenging, when you're able to solve it, the learning that happens at that time is longer term learning. Whatever I said today, a week later you'll remember half of it, a month later you'll remember a quarter of it. But if you all do something, do Mindspark, do whatever, you'll remember that for a longer period of time. So we need to stress about what are students absorbing, what are children learning, and stop worrying about how is the teacher teaching, what is the instruction aid on that. In a way where that conversation can happen, this conversation can happen, but with this lens. We need to stop saying that teachers need to get trained better. Unless we're saying that because of this teacher training, students will learn this better. That's sort of a different thing, right? I can't really do more because
just one last question.
You can see how red Shrishti has already become.
How exclusive is the question sets between Mindspark and Asset? Is there an overlap?
There is a Chinese wall between.
And what is the process of approval of questions? Is it similar to Asset and Human?
Not similar. See, the beauty about Asset is that in the history of Asset, we have never repeated a question, right? And also Asset will be taken once. There's no room for error, right? So 4 lakh students take the Asset, and then you can't be like, oh, I made a mistake. You can't do that. Whereas in Mindspark, you have this feedback loop, and you can correct things when 10, 20 students, raise wrong time. So it's different because it's very different end goals there.
The student have raised questions that some of the classes have got the repeated questions or
you ask one more question, so she will really get an answer. But keep the question, email it to me. And if time permits, if you get another 20 minutes sometime during today, tomorrow, day after, just slot me in and I'll sort of come up. Yeah. Okay, cool. Have a great rest of the day. Well, I'll keep talking with you. So, what was your question?
So my question was last time I was working on first was going on. There was a question raised by teachers questions are good repeating. So whatever the questions were there last year and the questions are same this year. That was the question raised by teachers.
So 3 different products, right? DA mein, it's a test that's been conducted.
I'm
you have a
having
test.
one here.
Asset mein, it will not be repeated. MS mein, you already have a new set of students. So how does it matter the question I gave her, I'm giving her, I'm giving you? Doesn't really matter. सीखना तो सबको fractions है. Then at the end of the day, you also say last year भी fractions सिखाया था, Mindspark ने इस साल भी सिखाया. Obviously, you also need to learn fractions. You also need to learn fractions.
There was something else.
Let's work with specific issues, but largely what is meant. Put it in context of what product, what situation, what school, what.
Okay, so the general sequence would be asset and then Mindspark. Okay.
Sequence,
as in you give an example of a doctor initially.
You could take that. You could even take asset as like once a year full body check, and then realize that there's stuff, blood में कुछ है, and then you use DA to. Yogesh is here.
He just comes.
Okay, I'll talk till he comes. So DA is like, अच्छा blood में ये extra detailed test कराना इतना छोटा सा, and then realize your real issue is here, and then you give Mindspark as a
So after Mindspark, is there again a reassessment?
Mindspark will ensure that you learn it, or at least that's the goal, or that's the intention. And Mindspark will cure it.
Is that an assumption, or is that an
You could do asset next year also, right? And you will know. Or DA this.
Thank you.
Thank
you.